I just want to say shout out to you. Thank you for taking care of me last night. You're the sweetest person on this earth.
I love you, mommy.
I love you more.
Shout out to the best. Guess who? Guess who helped me re-enroll today in schools?
Yep.
He was such an angel. I can't wait. And yes, I'm going back to Santa Monica College. What's up? If I chose to do me, I'll make a nigga chest cake fucking. But I don't.
Wait, stop scrolling. Because what just hit the internet is not regular celebrity news. This is the kind of revelation that snaps timelines in half and leaves people staring at their screens in disbelief. Blueface is reportedly spiraling in real time after Chrisean Rock dropped a bomb so explosive it shook the entire culture. She's pregnant, and the baby is not his. Let that sink in. The woman he once controlled, humiliated, publicly toyed with, just announced a new life with a new man, and Blueface was completely cut out of the picture. And the moment that truth surfaced, everything fell apart. Within minutes, social media turned into a digital crime scene. Deleted posts, cryptic rants, subtweets dripping with rage, alleged leaked voice notes where his tone shifts from laughing to shaking to furious. Insiders whisper that walls were being punched, phones thrown, studio sessions canceled. This wasn't shock. This was ego collapse. Because for years, Blueface believed Chrisean would never truly leave him. That no matter how messy it got, she'd always circle back. But this time, she didn't look back. She moved forward pregnant, peaceful, glowing with another man by her side. And that's what makes this moment historic. Not the pregnancy, not the drama, the power shift. While Blueface unraveled online, Chrisean stayed silent. No clapbacks, no chaos. Just calm posts, soft captions, and unbothered energy that hit harder than any insult ever could. The internet watched a toxic cycle snap in half in real time. This isn't a breakup story. This is the moment control died, karma clocked in, and a woman walked away without screaming. And once you hear how deep this meltdown really goes, there's no unseeing it. Now the silence broke, and when it did, it didn't whisper, it screamed. The hours after Chrisean's pregnancy reveal felt like watching a controlled demolition from the inside. Phones buzzed non-stop. Timelines refreshed faster than reality could keep up. And then Blueface posted one line, then deleted it. Then another. Then a screenshot surfaced claiming to show a private message sent in pure panic. "Tell me this ain't real." That single sentence told the entire story. This wasn't confidence. This was disbelief crashing into reality. For years, he moved like a man who believed the door would never close. He acted like her loyalty was permanent, like her presence was guaranteed no matter how chaotic things became. And now the door didn't just close, it locked. Insiders immediately began leaking details, or at least what they claimed were details. One alleged source swore Blueface found out about the pregnancy at the same time the public did. No warning, no private call, no soft landing. Just a headline and a name missing from it. That kind of discovery doesn't sting, it detonates. Another so-called insider claimed he replayed her post over and over. Not because he missed her, but because he couldn't process the exclusion. Her announcement didn't acknowledge him, reference him, or orbit around him in any way. He wasn't even an afterthought. He was irrelevant. And for a man used to being the center of chaos, irrelevance is the deepest wound. Then came the spiral. Subtweets flooded the timeline like emotional shrapnel. Ungrateful clout move, I built you. Each phrase felt rehearsed, like weapons he'd used before. Except this time they landed flat. Fans didn't flinch. They fired back. Screenshots resurfaced from the past. Old lies, old denials, old moments where she begged and he laughed. The internet has a long memory and it cashed it in all at once. Every attempt to shame her only reminded people why she left. Every insult became evidence. And as the comments turned against him, the tone of his posts shifted from arrogance to desperation. viral clip allegedly leaked from a studio session added fuel to the fire. In it, a voice believed to be Blueface's could be heard ranting about replacement, about being cut out, about how nobody moves on that fast. The room went silent at one point, then the voice cracked. That crack was everything, because it exposed the truth he didn't want to admit. He wasn't mad she was pregnant. He was mad she was pregnant without him. Mad that another man now occupied the space he thought was permanently his. Mad that the bond he weaponized no longer worked. Meanwhile, Chrisean's energy moved in the opposite direction. No chaos, no back and forth. She posted a photo of sunlight pouring through a window. A caption about gratitude. Fans dissected every pixel, every word, every emoji, and what they found was calm. Real calm, not performative. Not defensive. Peace that didn't need explanation. That contrast made Blueface's unraveling look even louder. While he typed through rage, she breathed through healing. And the internet noticed immediately. Memes popped up comparing his late-night rants to her quiet joy. It wasn't funny. It was telling. Another alleged insider claimed Blueface tried to reach out privately and was blocked. Not muted, blocked. That detail spread like wildfire because it symbolized something final. Blocking isn't anger, it's closure. It means access revoked. And for someone who survived on emotional access, that loss hit like withdrawal. Hours later, he went live briefly, eyes heavy, smile forced, joking about being unbothered. But unbothered men don't go live to announce it. Unbothered men don't keep refreshing comments. Unbothered men don't spiral when a woman they once controlled stops reacting. The narrative online began to flip faster than anyone expected. Chrisean, once framed as the chaos, was now being described as the survivor. Comment sections filled with words like growth, healing, soft life. Blueface, once painted as untouchable, was now being analyzed like a case study in ego collapse. Even neutral observers admitted something felt different. This wasn't two toxic people clashing. This was one person breaking free while the other panicked at the loss of control. And that distinction changed everything. Then came the whispers about the new man. No name, no face, just presence. And somehow that made it worse. An unnamed figure stepping into fatherhood calmly, privately, without clout chasing. That anonymity protected Chrisean in a way she'd never been protected before. Fans praised it. Blueface allegedly hated it. According to another leak, he demanded to know who the man was, only to be told it wasn't his business. That sentence alone reportedly sent him into another rage, because it confirmed what he feared most. He no longer had jurisdiction over her life. As the night dragged on, his posts grew darker. Less jokes, more bitterness. He accused her of rewriting history, of pretending she wasn't made by him. But the internet wasn't buying it. People pointed out that real love doesn't demand credit. Real love doesn't keep score. And real love doesn't fall apart the moment control disappears. That's when the word karma started trending alongside his name. Not in a celebratory way, in a sobering one. Karma wasn't loud. Karma was quiet. Karma looked like Chrisean smiling while he unraveled dot by morning. The damage was done. Screenshots lived forever. The meltdown was archived. Reaction videos flooded platforms. Psychologists, creators, and commentators all weighed in, dissecting the dynamic. Trauma bonds, control cycles, emotional dependency. Terms that once lived in therapy rooms were now trending hashtags. And at the center of it all was one undeniable image. A woman moving forward and a man stuck watching from behind a screen. The story had officially crossed a line. It was no longer gossip. It was a cautionary tale unfolding in real time as the day unfolded. New layers kept surfacing, each more unsettling than the last. A former associate hinted that Blueface had built his entire public identity around dominance, around being the loudest presence in the room. Without Chrisean reacting, that identity collapsed. He wasn't just losing a relationship. He was losing the mirror that reflected his power back at him. Another clip allegedly leaked showing him scrolling her page in silence, jaw tight, eyes empty. No jokes, no bravado. Just the realization settling in. She wasn't coming back. Not this time. Fans began drawing timelines, connecting dots that once seemed chaotic but now looked intentional. They pointed out how every time she tried to grow, chaos followed. How every moment of peace was interrupted. And now, suddenly, peace remained uninterrupted. That difference felt intentional. Like she finally chose herself without apology. The culture responded accordingly. Brands congratulated her quietly. Influencers praised her transformation. And Blueface watched support pour toward a woman he once believed would never be believed. Late that night, a cryptic post appeared on his page. Just a black screen and a caption about betrayal. No names, no context. It was meant to sting. Instead, it confirmed everything people already knew. He felt abandoned, not because he loved her right, but because he lost ownership. And that realization sparked a deeper conversation across the internet. About men who confuse access with love. About women who mistake chaos for passion. About how healing looks boring to people addicted to drama behind the scenes. Rumors swirled that legal teams were advising silence, that friends were urging him to log off, that someone finally told him the truth he didn't want to hear. She outgrew you. That sentence doesn't trend, but it devastates, especially when it's true. Because growth doesn't ask permission. It just happens. And when it does, it leaves people behind. Just happens. And when it does, it leaves people behind. By the end of the night, the narrative had fully shifted. Chrisean wasn't running from the past. She was building a future. Blueface wasn't being attacked. He was being exposed by his own reactions. And the scariest part for him wasn't the comments, or the memes, or the criticism. It was the quiet certainty settling in that another man would be present for moments he once wasted. Moments that would never be his again. The shift became undeniable the moment the noise stopped working. Blueface could post, delete, repost, joke, shade, rage, but none of it moved her anymore. And that's when panic turned into something colder. Because when a man realizes his chaos no longer reaches the person it once controlled, the fight stops being external and becomes internal. Insiders claim that after the initial outbursts, there was a stretch of silence that scared everyone around him more than the rants ever did. No posts, no lives, no jokes, just disappearance. That kind of quiet isn't peace. It's processing loss. While he went dark, Chrisean's world kept moving forward without turbulence. She posted nothing dramatic, nothing reactive. Just fragments of a life being rebuilt slowly and intentionally. A doctor's office chair. A window view. A caption about God restoring what stress destroyed. Fans read between every line, and what they saw wasn't shade. It was closure. The internet began treating her pregnancy like something sacred, not scandalous. That alone marked a cultural shift. This wasn't messy baby mama discourse. This was a woman being protected by public empathy for the first time, behind the scenes. Alleged leaks painted a darker picture of Blueface's state. One claimed he replayed old voice notes from her, listening to moments where she begged him to choose her. Not out of nostalgia, but disbelief. How did someone who once loved him that deeply walk away without turning back? The answer was uncomfortable. She didn't stop loving overnight. She stopped hurting herself. And that difference changed everything. When that realization hit, it reportedly triggered a wave of bitterness disguised as jokes. He returned online with sarcasm, memes, forced laughter. But hurt men don't laugh freely. They performed that the internet dissected every move, every emoji, every caption. And what they found was consistent. He talked about betrayal. She talked about peace. He talked about loyalty. She talked about healing. Those aren't opposing narratives. They're different stages of emotional evolution. One stays stuck in the wound. The other moves past it. That's why his words felt repetitive and hers felt final. She wasn't trying to convince anyone. She didn't need to. Her calm did the talking. Then came the moment that truly fractured him. A short clip circulated of Chrisean at what appeared to be a low-key gathering, hand resting on her stomach, laughing freely. No chaos, no tension, just ease. According to alleged insiders, Blueface saw it and snapped. Not publicly, privately. The kind of snap that comes when fantasy finally dies. Because in his mind there was always a version of the future where she came back, pregnant or not, hurt or not. That door had always stayed cracked. That clip slammed it shut. Fans noticed his tone shift after that. The insults stopped landing. The accusations became vague. He started speaking in riddles about energy vampires and fake love. It sounded less like anger and more like coping. Meanwhile, Chrisean's supporters multiplied. Influencers who once avoided her name now praised her growth. Commentators reframed her story as survival, not scandal. Brands quietly followed her again. The same internet that once fed off her pain now refused to entertain it. And that refusal starved the very dynamic Blueface thrived on. Rumors swirled that he attempted to assert relevance by hinting at new music inspired by heartbreak. But fans weren't interested. They weren't waiting for diss tracks. They were watching a transformation. The narrative no longer belonged to him. He became a reaction instead of the source. That role reversal was brutal, because for years, his chaos drove the storyline. Without her reacting, his noise echoed into emptiness. And emptiness is loud to someone addicted to attention. As weeks passed, the conversation matured. People stopped asking who the baby's father was and started asking how Chrisean managed to break free. Therapists weighed in. Survivors shared stories. Women recognized themselves in her journey. That's when it became clear this wasn't just celebrity drama. It was cultural. A public example of what happens when a woman exits a trauma bond and chooses peace over familiarity. Blueface wasn't just losing her. He was losing the sympathy of an audience that had grown tired of watching. A woman suffer for entertainment alleged. Insiders claim that realization hit him late one night when comments stopped mentioning her name at all. The focus had shifted entirely to her future. Gender reveals. Baby names. Motherhood glow. He was no longer the antagonist. He was the past. And the past doesn't trend for long. That's when desperation reportedly crept back in. Subtle attempts to provoke. Old memories reposted. Inside jokes referenced without explanation. None of it worked. Because indifference is the final stage of detachment. Anger still cares. Silence doesn't. Chrisean's silence, in particular, became a mirror. It forced him to sit with himself without distraction. No reactions to blame. No chaos to spark. Just accountability echoing in the quiet. According to whispers, that's when regrets surfaced. Not the kind that seeks forgiveness, but the kind that recognizes irreversible loss. Regret that comes from knowing you had access to someone's heart and treated it like a toy. And toys break when mishandled too long. The pregnancy itself took on symbolic weight. Fans described it as a reset. A line drawn between who she was and who she's becoming. This child represented a future untouched by the dysfunction that defined her past. And Blueface knew that. He knew this baby would grow up without witnessing the chaos he normalized. Without hearing arguments turned into content. Without being used as leverage. That reality stung deeper than any insult ever could. Because it exposed what he couldn't offer then and couldn't offer now. Meanwhile, Chrisean's demeanor continued to evolve. Her music softened. Her interviews grew reflective. She spoke about learning to listen to her body, her spirit, her intuition. No names mentioned. No blame assigned. Just growth. That restraint spoke volumes. It told the world she spoke volumes. It told the world she didn't need validation anymore. She found it internally. And once a woman finds that external chaos loses power, the public's response sealed it. Instead of mocking, they protected. Instead of dragging, they encouraged. Instead of fueling drama, they starved it. Blueface attempted to reclaim narrative control one last time with a cryptic post about being misunderstood. It vanished within minutes. Whether deleted or ignored, it didn't matter. The reaction he wanted never came. The audience had moved on emotionally, and without an audience, performances end by the end of the saga's second wave. One truth stood unchallenged. This was never about another man. It was about another version of her. One who didn't need chaos to feel alive. One who didn't mistake intensity for love. One who chose stability over spectacle. Blueface wasn't competing with a new partner. He was competing with her healed self. And that's a battle no one wins. As the dust settled, the story reframed itself naturally. Not as a scandal, but as a turning point. A woman stepped out of survival mode and into intention. A man confronted the consequences of control, mistaken for love. Two paths diverged sharply. One toward legacy, one toward reflection. The internet didn't crown a villain. It crowned growth, and growth doesn't shout. It glows. In the end, Blueface's meltdown became a footnote, not the headline. The headline belonged to a woman reclaiming her narrative and protecting her future. His anger faded into background noise, while her peace resonated louder with every quiet post. The cycle broke publicly. The trauma bond dissolved without ceremony. And what remained was the undeniable truth that healing doesn't need an audience. But it always attracts one. This wasn't a breakup conclusion. It was an evolution. A reminder that when a woman chooses herself, the world shifts around her. And those who benefited from her pain are left standing still, watching life move forward without them. Now don't scroll away yet, because this is the moment where your voice actually matters. Stories like this don't just unfold on social media. They live and breathe in the comments, in the debates, in the conversations people are afraid to have out loud. What you just heard isn't just celebrity drama, it's a real-time lesson about power, control, healing, and what happens when someone finally chooses themselves. And if you felt even a fraction of that shift, you already know this story isn't finished, so I need you to do something right now. Hit that like button not for clout, but because this conversation deserves visibility. Liking this video tells the algorithm this topic matters, that growth matters, that watching a woman reclaim her life matters. Then subscribe, because missing the next update could mean missing the moment everything changes again. These situations evolve fast. And when new posts drop, when reactions explode, when insiders start talking, you'll want to be here first, not catching up late. Most importantly, go to the comments and speak your truth. Do you think this was heartbreak, or was it an ego collapsing when control disappeared? Do you believe motherhood is truly the beginning of Chrisean's soft life era? Or do you think the past will try to pull her back? Is this karma, growth, or both? Say it out loud. Debate respectfully. Let this space be where real opinions live. Turn on notifications, because silence doesn't last forever. And the next move from either side will shake the internet again. Don't watch history happen quietly. Be part of the conversation while it's still unfolding.